Attention, please. Okay, so as I used to say before, we are doing all this in English again because English is the official language of startups, and everyone here should be able to understand and speak in English. So that's why we're kind of forcing the language. So welcome to this year's season, so to say, of Pro Startup Meetups. We had a little bit of a break over the of course, Christmas, New Year's, but also January period. But now we are kicking off once again the regular meetups that are about to happen every first Thursday of the month. Of course, this isn't the first Thursday of February, but last week was Bug Future show, so I think it would have been a little bit too much to have everything, so we decided to move to today. But I'm happy to see so many of you coming here. Today's topic is obviously ChatGPT, and maybe some of you are wondering why is Croatian Startup Association talking about this topic? I mean, it's about AI, and we do have Croatian AI Association as well that's going to cover it more in detail. But the thing is, it's a technology that is right now happening in a way that is dramatically changing the way we are living, not just privately, but also professionally. And it's important for startups as well to see what the technology is, how they maybe can use it, whether to build something on top of it, build an insider solution, or simply use it in their businesses. So that's why today we're having this topic. Who knows, maybe at some point we will be talking about some other technology, maybe blockchain at some point will have this breakthrough as well. We'll see. Anyway, so without further ado, what I want to say is that first we'll have a presentation by Davor Anicic from Velvet AI. He's going to give us a little bit of an overview of the technology. And after that, we will have a panel with Davor, with another Davor from, so my co-founder as well from ERT, and maybe we'll get some insights of maybe how we are using ChatGPT in our little startup. And of course, we have Martina Silov, the Executive Director of Croatian AI Association, also on the panel to get a little bit of a feeling of how the AI startups in Croatia are handling this technology. So, this is it. Davor, the floor is yours.
Dobar dan svima. Okay, I'll switch to English. Let us check. Okay, so Heidi, thank you for the introduction. And yes, I'm coming here just to tell you a little more about ChatGPT. I will not go into technical details. My background is product management. I'm CEO of Velvet AI, but I'm not a big technical guy. I just heard of them. But yeah. Nice picture. I don't know why. How it came to be. But okay, that's us. Just one slide about the company. So we are AI agency. We are, I would say, one of the few Croatian focused AI agencies. That means that we do work on other people's projects, and that actually gives us a lot of overview of what's going on. And we are in the field since 2019, and we are as a company in the field since 2019, but we are in the AI field since 2015, as we were part of the Styria AI, one of the first computer vision and NLP groups at the time here in Zagreb. And we are 4 co-founders, and now we are 8 people strong company. So a lot of different use cases, images, text, users data, a lot of clients, some I would say local, but also global companies from Croatia, and also some mostly European clients. But now let's go to what I actually want to tell you. So, who actually tried ChatGPT? Okay, and who actually saw this screen? Yeah, almost everyone. So I tried to get the screenshot today, but couldn't. So I said, okay, that's also good enough. So yes, that just means it's very successful. You can't actually get your time slots to the machines, and you can't actually try the service. But yeah, the premium appeared last week, if I'm correctly remembering, so you can always pay, and then even in the peak hours, you will have it. Does anyone now have the paid premium subscription? Okay, not, I still don't have it, I just didn't have time. I will. So, okay, it can write songs, you know, everyone probably knows that. That's the first thing. But actually, if you want to ask yourself what ChatGPT can do for you, I actually suggest that you go to the playground OpenAI, that's playground of GPT 3.5 model, that's actually in behind the ChatGPT that's, I would say, add-on on that model. And if you want to use GPT 3.5 model, then from that model you can actually do a lot of stuff, and here it's actually very nice. You can play with each one of it, and I would suggest go there, and it's even less crowded in a way. It's easier to get the access to that, and basically it will give you when you know what you want, it will give you the same result. It doesn't have the chat part, it doesn't have the part that will give you conversation, and it will maybe then have less complex possibilities for you to explore something, but here are actually good ideas what you want to achieve with it. So it's either summarizing for a second grader, or summarizing something for someone who is on a professional level, to, I don't know, text to command classifications, SQL translates, everything, grammar collection. And then that's just the first page, that's the second page. Here, so yes, it can be a tutor. It can classify your tweets. So these are all the things that actually you can already now use very easily. And it's in a way fascinating because it's one GPT 3.5 model behind. So this is not even, it doesn't have this add-on object, but still it can do everything almost. You saw there it's JavaScript to Python, for instance, so it can translate programming languages, so it can actually do a lot of coding for you if you want as well. It can summarize your notes. It can do a lot of things. I actually, of course, couldn't try everything. When I think I need something, then I go and then I try that. But I'm still exploring. Did anyone actually, go deep and explore like almost everything? Any volunteers? You did.
There is even a jailbreak where you can hack it and punish it and give incentives for doing things it doesn't do, something like that. So
that's actually a good point, and I wanted to I'll expand on that. So thank you. GPT 3.5 is one part of the whole system, and then actually additional reinforcement learning by human feedback, like the one you are giving it back, is the part of the machine that's, I would say, most obscure at the time. We understand it's reinforcement learning, but we don't know how they did it. So there is no scientific papers out, and we'll see, but it obviously gave additional edge to the GPT 3.5 large language model. And this edge is what is actually giving us all this fascination and wow effect. And this is actually the slide of all the other companies in the field of generative AI. So what people don't understand that this is actually, like sudden event that's been happening for the last 5 years. So this is the ecosystem. That's just the first slide. There's the other one. So here it's also when you ask yourself, what can it do for you? It's, it can go from synthetic data generation to, vector search and curation, code generation and documentation. So in each of these fields, these are the companies that play. Some of them have actually the same model behind. So sometimes they use APIs from OpenAI, but some do not. Some have other large language models or other models that are actually being used. Marketing and sales copy, so copywriting is one of the fields that's obviously being changed by this. But yes, Jasper, that's maybe, in my feeling, is most famous locally, actually has GPT 3.5 behind. And it's being used for now, I would say, 2 years extensively. It exists for more, but it became really good. So yeah, text and data summarization. So in each of these fields, you have a lot of companies that are either using basic technology and then adding their own parts, or maybe just providing interface, or they are actually developing things from the scratch, but maybe training the same way, because what you need for this AI, or however you want to call it, you need a lot of data, you need a lot of hardware to actually make compute of this data, and you need algorithms. All these things are replicable in a way. So my guess is that a lot of things will be not that good as they did it, because they're not giving you all the ingredients, but you can understand how they did it, and you can try to do it yourself on some smaller scale for your use case. And if you know what are you doing with the neural networks, then you can do actually really good results, even though you started from the scratch and you're not using ChatGPT, for instance, or GPT 3.5. This is the other part of this ecosystem, from image editing to design, text to image, MLOps. That's also a very interesting part. So it's not only models that are being commoditized or in a way being easier to use, it's also the environment about how to deploy the models and how to take care of them. That's also the thing that's, and I just don't see here Hugging Face somehow, I don't know why.
Previous page.
Yeah, it was the so they put it in different categories. I would put it here actually, if you ask me. I think Hugging Face is most important part of it is actually this MLOps part. And then, okay, so audio editing, text to speech, speech to text, music generation, summarization and insights, avatars and dubbing and video and everything. So generative AI and AI is actually really in a way mature to provide all this, and that's why now ChatGPT is taking all the, I would say, hype, but there's a lot of things that are already there. So we just, most of us were not aware. But I would say now with this hype, we will be very, very fast aware of that. And now there's a new kid on the block. Don't look at the kid. New Kids on the Block is like very old band when I was young. But this is Bard. Have you heard of Bard? Yes. Yeah, all the guys from Google are trying to actually, try to do something, because things are changing in front of them and they don't like it. So yeah. And why? So why is this now happening that fast? So the race for the search money started. So you can see the current percentages. So there is, I don't think there is such a monopoly as Google has on search anywhere, almost in any industry. And Bing has like, maybe 3-4%, yeah, so not really happy. But now, if you ask me, after now looking at this race for what, 2 months, I think these new guys are actually played it very good. So this news is actually from yesterday. So Microsoft already integrated in the Bing. And actually I was watching now the presentation that I was drawing here. So it's unbelievable, so fast. That's from yesterday, and you can't put it on presentation. Now it's a new thing that happened. So yeah, so it's already integrated in Bing. And I think I'll start using Bing from tomorrow, really. Because that's probably the easiest way now to enter ChatGPT, and it will, I'm sure it will be easier and it won't be that hard to get to the server, because Microsoft will take care that there is enough hardware compute power to actually give you the results. And the main, so just to explain, did anyone try this new Bing? Okay, yeah, it's really newest news. So the main idea is you're getting search results, but on the right side you're getting the, I would say, answer from one that you could expect from ChatGPT. So the summarization and the ideas, and it's co-linked. So you will get which part of this answer is from which link. And then if you want to refine additionally, you can enter the chat mode. And then you can go, as now you're using ChatGPT, and then you can return to the search mode. And in a way, I really think it's a new way we will all search in the future. It's much more powerful, it's much more so when you're going in the searches, there are different things you search, but some are really not, I would say, they were not getting served by Google in the last 5 years. So our needs were not served. So this is something new, and I think Microsoft actually played this extremely well. So the thing that they actually now launched it in 5 days just means it's being prepared for last at least a year or two. So even the buying, or I would say acquiring 49% and 75% of future profits from OpenAI, that's the current official status in Microsoft, was probably in making for much longer than we all actually knew. So it was behind the scenes. Because now that fast they integrated in Bing, and 3 days ago they actually announced that they integrated it in Microsoft Teams. So if did anyone use Microsoft Teams? Okay, I'm also mostly using Google Hangouts, but sometimes I do use Microsoft Teams. So now when you have just any online call with someone, you're getting automatic summarization from the side of ChatGPT in your call, automatic translation 40 languages. I didn't try it, so I guess it's probably just a written translation. All the key names, who said what, and the main things. So in a way, summarization and next steps. So just imagine you are having a meeting and you don't have to take care of meetings. So meeting and next steps, and we'll see how good it works. But if it's not working good, it will work good in a half a year or maybe 1 year. So in a way, that also tells me that Microsoft did this, I would say, several months in front. They couldn't integrate that fast. So it was obviously really good play. And we'll see where the future ends and how will it look. I don't know. There were some nice images from Midjourney that my kid made. So, I mean, yes, we don't know how fantastic our future will look. We can only guess. I think this change is the biggest IT change since the new iPhone, maybe, yeah, and maybe not as radical as dawn of internet. Maybe that was more radical than this, but definitely new iPhone is something. It's just try to remember at the time what we had in mind will happen. We had in mind, okay, now we will see things on the phone. We couldn't imagine these phones will begin to be our assistants, our map guides for Google Maps. And generally, that our whole life and social networks and everything, we couldn't imagine that at the time. So this radical change now, I also expect in 5 years we'll see the results everywhere. And as you could have seen there are a lot of ecosystems already developed. It's not that now something new happens and everybody starts developing. It's already in making. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for your time, and now we'll go on a panel and discuss much more. So I guess no questions now, but let's leave it for a panel.
Unless someone really has no question that I have to have the answer right away. No? Okay.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I put here the link because we recently recorded this podcast. My colleague Mladen Fermežir and me. So what I said now, it's actually 2 episodes, 1 hour and a half, together with Davor and Ivan Boras. So yeah, feel free to download the podcast and hear more there. But it's old news, of course. It was recorded 2 weeks ago, so almost obsolete.
Well, it's still a very good episodes of podcasts, so worthwhile listening. And there will be another one, which, okay, maybe now it's again a little bit outdated, but it's amazing how fast the technology is changing. Thank you,
I'll go to the last slide.
You can go
That's
to the
what-
last slide.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just by accident left all my slides from usual presentation. Sorry for this. Yeah, you could see some interesting. So we did some generative AI. That was before the summer. So image generation and image. We actually did it without ChatGPT for a client in Netherlands. It's style transfer. Then the open source stability AI, Stable Diffusion appeared, and then we actually implemented for the guy this. And so now he's using the both things. So we are in the area, not that much, but a lot of computer vision that we did. So yeah, that's my.
Thank you, David. And I'll ask the second hour and Martina to join us here. Please take a seat. And this will be interesting how to Davor and Davor or Aničić or Nurunje. I'll have to figure it out, yeah. Yeah, I will share one mic. Jesus. So where to start? I mean, as we can see, it's changing like in a matter of days. So, Ronjen, maybe I'll start with you. Davor R. So you said more than a few times already that I've heard you. Okay, this is something that has really made a tremendous shift, and you say that we've just scratched the surface of AI, and the end of last year was actually the beginning of what? Can you tell us?
Yeah, hi everybody. Besides other things, I'm also teaching in algebra, algebra, whatever. And one of the things that I teach over there is like disrupting innovation, like boring marketing stuff. So, but it made me study a little bit history about computer science. It's actually quite interesting. You would never believe it. And there are a couple of very important moments in that history. One of the important moments was when those guys from early Intel figured out that there is no need to build hardware for every single problem. It would be really a cool thing to have something called memory, something called microprocessor, and then you can do calculator without redoing all the hardware every single time. And it was just a minor optimizational technique at the moment that everybody saw. But what happened is once you separate the memory and computing from everything is in one piece and you have to design for the whole thing, there was a new industry starting, and that industry was software. Software was much bigger than hardware in the end. There's not many hardware designers in this room, but a lot of people wrote some software. And I believe that what we are seeing right now with machine learning AI is we're actually at the point where these large emerging language models are becoming a microprocessor and a memory, and we are stopping doing all this machine learning, fine-tuning, whatever we were doing for the past number of years, and we are looking okay, now we can do software, prompt engineering, semantic search. We can do one of those large models and quickly assemble a model that is so superior to anything that we can do by hands, because we don't have that much time to develop good hardware. And what I think that we're seeing is even more than just a new mobile phone, or maybe even more than just the internet. I think that we're really at the point in the history of computer science where we are going from we were designing the hardware, machine learning models, and now finally somebody built a microprocessor. Now we're going to start building software. And when that thing happens, everything explodes. This is why I think it's so it was last week ago. This news is from 2 days ago. Nobody cares about it because software is so much faster. You can iterate. You can write a new prompt immediately, and it takes 7 months to train a model. You cannot iterate that. So the big companies like Microsoft, Google, and they're exponentially making those models more bigger, more powerful, and more expensive to train. Training GPT takes about $4 million. It's still nothing for big companies. Next year it's going to be 50, and then $500 million, and it's going to be 5 billion. And then it's the same thing with semiconductor companies. Like 20 years ago, I was in France, in Steel Microelectronics, and they were trying to build a new factory for semiconductors. They said like, oh, it cost $1 billion to build one. Today it costs 10. It's just out of reach of everybody. Like you cannot do that. There are only a few companies that can build semiconductor, like produce it, like can be fab. Not that many in the world. And the same thing will happen with the models. There will be only a few companies that can actually build the good models, like good microprocessors, and everybody else will start doing the software. And we're at that moment in time where the software is happening in this industry. It used to be all about machine learning, about fine-tuning and all this technicality that our kids will not know anything about. But they will know how to build a system using those things. And we are this whole history. I think it's kind of unique because it didn't happen for 50 years or something. So we had Moore law, and we're going to have some other law, which will say every year and a half, not the size of the large language model is doubling or something. It will happen because right now it's growing exponentially. There is some reason behind it. And if you look at the history of computer science, we've seen this before. We've seen this with Intel 8008, exactly the same moment in time. Suddenly, you can just write software. You don't have to design the whole thing and wait for 2 years, like we had. So I think it's going to be very, very exciting, and I think this year, last year will be remembered by building something so powerful that Microsoft can quickly do so many products. Because it's becoming software again. It's not hard. Machine learning was hard, trust me that one. I work a lot on it. It feels like designing a hardware circuit. You press enter, you wait for a month. And in the software world, you press enter, 3 seconds ago, you do enter with a new thing. You iterate quickly, you build things quickly, and you can do so much more with software than hardware. This is why the software is hitting the world. And now machine learning will start hitting the world because nobody will do machine learning anymore. We'll do prompt engineering, semantic search, God knows what. So it's going to be fun ride, I would say. Sure.
Sure, just that, okay. I mean, it's a big shock, I dare say, to everyone, especially the general population that's now suddenly feeling that, oh my God, something's happening really in the AI world. But it's also a little bit of a shock to the AI community as well. So Martina, do you have kind of any insights how the existing AI companies, AI startups, are reacting to ChatGPT?
So first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here. First of all, because I love ChatGPT. Why? Not because it's cool, it's modern, it's super cool and so on. Because when you're working and running for AI, everybody is asking you what AI is, what AI is. I hate that question. And then you don't have any idea how hard it is to explain what you guys are doing or what you are doing or microblink or, okay, photomat, everybody understands because everybody's cheating their exams with photomat, okay? But in general, how hard it is to explain what AI is and what kind of impact it will have on our everyday lives, on our education, school system, healthcare, and so on. And now with ChatGPT, do you know what AI is? Just use it. And that's it. And I'm really, really excited how to explain people what AI is and what the AI can do for your life or your everyday causes and habits, and that's amazing. And I think companies already recognize how cool their startup can be with ChatGPT. Now we have, Jellyride implemented AI. I saw Dover was playing with ChatGPT and implementation. I saw another Dover also playing with ChatGPT in their startup. I think I think those examples are great because you can transfer your product in such a quick way, relatively, and creation AI scene is recognizing that, and I'm really, really glad for that.
Cool. So you are an AI agency, so you're helping others build AI solutions. So are you working with startups as well, or general companies? And what kind of requests are you seeing, or are you getting any requests to implement ChatGPT besides, okay, that was the manager or stable diffusion thingy, but ChatGPT as such?
Of course, I mean, we can't implement ChatGPT. Yeah. So far, it's only the service layer. So we'll see how things will develop. Today I was talking with one small digital agency, so small digital startup from
Is the world?
Denmark. Okay, maybe I should talk like here. and the guy was actually doing, his concept is giving small businesses way to be digital present, and he started 7 months ago. And he invested already, and now, come on, this happened. And now he's again trying to see and change all the templates that he actually used for, I know, generating images and text and in the certain niches to actually try to use it through generative AI. So yes, if you're a startup, it's risky even more than if you're an agency, because for us it's we can deploy this or that for him, but it's his horizon is maybe year of development, and then he will go to the market and try to actually make his living, and things are changing very fast. So in my opinion, it's not easy to be a startup today if your use case is now being affected by this, and a lot of them are. So we'll see. On the other hand, you don't have a choice. You have to embrace it and start using either service version of either big guys or some of the smaller guys. Maybe in your niche it's good enough to use some of the smaller guys and let them be connected to the big guys. So in a way what Davor said, yes, we'll see how this will develop. We are not sure, I'm not sure that only big guys will train models, so I'm not agreeing on that one. So, in my opinion, there are a lot of companies who will train a lot of different models, but there are some things that will be reused. And I'm really looking forward to the open source community again, because we can be only thankful to the open source mindset within the AI community in the last 20 years, and why we are here where we are now, why the things developed that fast. And I hope this is not now the start of closing these open source ideas. That's why we were very happy to see Stability AI coming out with Stable Diffusion. That's the first big transformer-based open source model. The first one. So we'll see. Maybe there were some lately. I'm not really following that like on a daily basis. But what we do as an agency, when we get a request, then we look around and see what's available on the open source level, and then we implement that. And for some startups, it really works. And we'll see. Some others will use service from the big guys, and the ecosystem will just develop further. That's how I see it.
That's something you want to say?
Yeah, thank you, Dava. So, by studying computer science history, believe it or not, there are some patterns that are happening, and actually there's a theory about really predicting what's going to happen with the technology. It's not that difficult to predict it. More or less we are correct. Not always, but more or less. So the theory has opinion about like what's going to happen if Microsoft challenge Google with a search by introducing some new technology. Nothing will happen. Google is not stupid. They will just copy the same thing, and whatever Microsoft do, 2 months down the line, they're going to have the same team, going to fight with everything they have, and typically the winner is the one who is the biggest at the beginning of the game if both are fighting. It's not very difficult. You have a big guy, a little bit smaller guy, especially in that pie chart. The big guy usually wins. When the big guys are losing is when the small guys find something that the big guys don't want to fight about. So if you want to kill Google, you don't vote for search. Just too difficult. They will fight. They have a panic mode right now, and when they're in panic mode, they will win. Try to, I don't know, build a better Microsoft Office, Microsoft will kill them. There's no question. They will copy any technology they have. Try to kill Facebook with doing the social networking. There's like no way. You have to figure out something else. And what is this technology doing? And this is like really good in insights if you like following OpenAI especially. So what they're saying, like the cost of like intellectual knowledge work will just go down. to zero. And that opens a lot of opportunity that's just not being like served by anyone right now. Because Google will be busy with defending the search, Microsoft will be busy by defending Microsoft Office and attacking the search, and these are like battles that you don't want to go inside. Because you're gonna get killed then. And even then. What you want to really do is like when you have this new technology, find something that it just doesn't exist on the market because nobody's fighting for it. And then you can grow like crazy. And this is the huge opportunities for startups. So if you want to try to challenge, I don't know, Adobe with doing a better image for like Photoshop or something, they're gonna kill it. Like they're not stupid. They're just gonna do everything the same in Photoshop. Nobody's stupid here. But you have to find something that they're just not interested in defending because they're not in that market anyway. And this is the huge opportunities for startups. Finding new fields that were not available with technology because like the cost of knowledge was too much. Now the cost of knowledge is zero. And that's what we should be all looking for. Not trying to attack search. Nobody cares. It's like 90s.
Okay, are we seeing the actual implementation right now? Nothing on here. So Davor said it's very risky maybe moment for startup because this thing is changing so quickly. But on the other hand, there are so many also startups now appearing out of nowhere that are using ChatGPT to create some kind of solution, some kind of offering. And again, there's been a little bit of a wake-up call when it comes to VCs, where suddenly again, remembering there's AI as a technology as well. It's not no longer just blockchain and crypto, which was the past few years. Do you think that startups have found already some use cases, such as I was saying, that can really become big businesses? Or do you think it's kind of just waving, like riding the wave of the excitement at the moment, and they're like skimming the cream, but there's no real foundation behind what is being built at the moment?
I would agree with that one. Like the opportunity. Yeah. No. Second line. So I agree with him. Like the opportunity is huge. Oh my god. Okay, let's switch. Is it better? Yeah. Okay. The opportunity is huge, and I think everybody like sees the opportunity. Oh my god, something big is going on. But on the creation tech scene, I can say there are like hundreds or even 10 new startups who are going to base their business model on ChatGPT. At least I didn't saw that. But I think still the opportunity is huge, and I believe that a lot of startups can make a good business model, a good story for not just VC funds and so on. Oh my god, I need investment and I will put a bit of AI to get the money. That's not the idea, but definitely the opportunity is here. But I don't believe that creation startups already realize that, because like Gabor said, this thing is moving so quickly and changing. It's really hard to put something out there based on something that is not still stable. Yeah.
Davor, A? What would you say did you see are the most common maybe use cases at the moment of ChatGPT, or variations of it? Not just to build some of the solution or in startup world, but in general. Because I mean, I think we are seeing kind of a reaction from the creators community, from content creation, for example, community, where things are changing and a lot of them are using ChatGPT to kind of augment or quicken some of the processes of creating something. What do you see are the most common use cases at the moment?
So, I can't tell. So things are being developed. So let's go from there. But definitely, what I think is the biggest change is how we work and how we will all use, because Microsoft is behind this, so they will very fastly implement this in the whole Office system. So Bing, Teams, and probably next are all the usual business I would say, tools. And then we'll see from there where will it go. But that's not for the part from startup. But if you want to think what changed actually, then you think you need to put things in several, I would say, boxes to make it easier understand. So what is obviously a new thing is new interface. So chat bots. All unsuccessful chatbots in the last 10 years are now like, they actually are worth something. Not the old guys, but actually the concept of chatbot was, in my opinion, dead. My personal opinion. I just didn't see it as something that will be really part of our future because it just didn't work. Now, completely changed. I really believe that conversational AI, either text or just talking, is the way how all of us will communicate with the machines in the future. And it will make things revolutionary, much easier for non-tech people. That you have to have that in mind. And then maybe a lot of completely new services will appear just on that part, just on that part. And then there's the other part that's more connected to the search thing. And this is, again, my opinion. I'm not sure how wide is it. This is the new way how we will search things. Okay, so neural networks have this opportunity to give you condensed understanding of the concepts. So let's go, images are the easier part to maybe conceptually understand. So you can tell the model to make an image in a style of certain painter. Yeah? And then you can tell, okay, combine it with the other painter. And what it does, it's not clearly, so there is no like script of what painter does and what is the part of one style or on the other style, and what's this new thing. So in a way, we are now searching the concept that you couldn't Google out, like in a way, the most important parts of the style of certain painter. You couldn't find it as an answer. Nobody wrote this as a scientific paper. But now this neural networks, in a way, abstracts this layer and gives you new perspective of something that already exists. So that's an interesting part. And in a way, we will start to see things in this new way, and we will search them in this new way, and we will get the knowledge in this new way. And on the other hand, it's enormously powerful engine. You have to have this in mind. So my whole life, it's always you have a lot of knowledge in the companies. I work in big companies, and you just can't utilize it. I mean, from documentation of the code, which is if someone else wrote it, and then maybe it's not really well kept, and maybe and then you're trying to and you lose a lot of time. Or from any kind of business documentation. And this maybe gives us the way how we will organize our information in the future, what we will do and how we'll search it. We'll search it completely different. It will be, I don't know, it will be different. We can't really know now how it will be. This generally put any big large language model, and then you train it additionally with the reinforcement learning and human feedback for certain tasks. You will get a really good search engine for this particular industry. That's my take. I'm not sure will it go that way, but I have a feeling it's going that way. So that's.
But speaking of documentation, there are. Maybe you can give a little bit some specific examples of how we are using, or actually how you are using this old/new technology in our processes.
Yeah. I mean, I get bored a lot, so I have to do something else. So from time to time, I like to take like a day off from work to just do something like whatever comes to my mind. And these are usually like the most productive, like long-term project, because at the beginning of the day, I like quickly build some prototype, and very often from that prototype, there's like a new business product and whatever. But typically like one-day thing. Like, I have to finish it like in a day, otherwise I don't have time. So it's just like, and it's really good stress on the organism, because like I don't have time for anything. Like I just want to get it done. So I have a problem in the company. Developers don't like to write documentation, which is a good thing because when they write it, it's terrible. I try to read it, I try to like understand, I try to make it like understand the English language, it just doesn't work. And so I need to solve a problem. I had one day, I took a day off, like let's do something. It took me a day to build a prototype because, like I said, like I have one day. I cannot do things that I know how to do, collect data and do some training and fine tuning and whatever we are doing. Oh, then I have one day. So what can I do? And the very quick solution was like, oh, just go down to one of those big language models and then play with what you put in some input as like a prompt, like do software, not the hardware anymore. And by being smart about like how do you manipulate the data that comes in, you get the output that you just want. So you get the documentation in particular style, written in a particular way, because I feed it with a good examples of what I want to get out. And this is good. And it takes a day, then I give it to guys, the guys make a tool out of it. And I did a similar thing like a few days ago. It was how to build ChatGPT kind of thing like within a day. You have one day, you have to build ChatGPT. Go now. I have to do it, like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna start in the morning, at the end, I'm gonna have something that is running and it's working. And actually build that thing with the components that exist within one day. So, again, I found like good things to get good documents from the internet, which are good inputs for the question. And then I have another model already downloaded from the internet, which I give it those documents and is capable of reading few of the things that are like carefully curated. Build something that is not ChatGPT, but within a day it can pass. And it's amazing, we can do this in one single day. So we're really becoming like, we're getting at a point that we can do software now, not hardware, because by the time I find some kind of data set and build a model and train it takes forever, like trust me. Like you cannot do it within one day. Like within one day you cannot do anything, but this you can quickly build things. And this allows people to actually start new businesses because they can quickly prototype, get it out of the world, see if it does it stick or not, and if it sticks, you can actually build something properly with like everything that goes on. And we didn't have that kind of world until recently. So it's not just ChatGPT. You can actually build one by yourself within a day. It's not that difficult. Google it, you'll find tutorials how to do it. Like I was not that creative. I just Googled it. I was like, what's up? Oh. This is a good trick, I like that trick, I like that trick. I get those two tricks together, it works. It's not that difficult. Of course, to build a proper ChatGPT, you need a few $1 million in training, God knows how many people, and so on and so forth. But you can do something very, very similar quickly. So there's going to be a lot of businesses build upon the idea like, if I can feed the right document with the right questions to one of those standard models, I can build something that's going to ask for more documents that are going to curate carefully, and build and feed it back, and then I'm going to get some new answer. And we can build a lot of things within a few days. We can quickly build prototypes. We're like in the software world again. We know how it works. Just go. You don't have time. You don't have time to design hardware. And we were like in a like 6 to 9 months project kind of time, just like a few months ago. So this is changing, and this is a huge opportunity. But I don't think that I cannot emphasize how this huge opportunity this is. We haven't seen this like in a long time. Because we are going into from long, tedious work to something quickly. You can build things in a day. They're not product, of course. They're prototypes. And the prototypes you can iterate. And when you iterate, you actually find a good solution eventually. Not after 20 years, but like quickly.
So would you say that we're also getting into the era where more than just technical people will be able to create AI solutions?
Yeah, of course. Like the IT used to be like math thing. You have to be strong to like lift these heavy machines and do like whatever we're doing. But when it becomes a soft thing and everybody can participate, then it exploded. Like what exploded? Social networks. Why? Because everybody could be on social networks, and suddenly they're not just for engineers. DTP initially was for engineers. Only people that know how to work with computer were able to publish something. Only like newspaper people are doing today. They're not engineers in that field. Because once the technology becomes commoditized, and it should be always be commoditized, there are more and more people able to use it, and then engineers do something new. Not publish newspaper or spend time on social networks. Now we are fine-tuning models, but in 10 years from now we will do something completely new. God knows. And other people will will be human and arts. Actually, when we're going to be the one that now, when the technology is mature enough, we can actually use it to build some better society, which we as engineers are maybe not best suited for, to put it mildly.
That was something I also wanted to ask Martina, because in Crow AI there was always kind of a notion that we need people from other industries or other parts of the society as well involved into building AI solutions, because not just engineers. Sorry, you're good. Do you see already excitement maybe from people who are not engineers, and them thinking and realizing, maybe that's the better question, are they already realizing that this is something happening that they'll be able to use and build something on their own? Because at the moment, when it comes to funding a startup, and especially, you want to build a tech startup, then if you're not a tech person, you need a co-founder or a tech person, techie, who can really build it for you. But now there's a shift. But is it recognized already?
Absolutely. In Cry, what we like to say is, for like 30 years ago, AI existed, and it was meant, sort of, but it was meant for scientists, and just scientists talked about it. For the last 10 years, we have engineers, and we believe in the next 10 years, it will be about everyone, because every product person, every marketing person, sales person, and so on, will have a say in it. And everybody will have to understand and work with AI if they want to continue working. That's going to be a part of our lives. I will not concentrate here on startups just. I'm going to concentrate on general public. A couple of days ago, we were in a school, and we asked, do you guys know what ChatGPT is? And I expected everybody's going to say yes, because everybody's cheating on their exams and nobody's writing essays anymore because now you have ChatGPT. And 50% of students had no idea what ChatGPT is. I was like, oh my God. This is the technology which is going to change the world probably. And AI won't replace you, but people who work and know what AI is will. And we have to start teaching our kids how to use ChatGPT, how to make their lives easier. Not just kids, everyday grown-ups. That has to be a part of your life, because the things it took you a couple of days to do or write or something, now it will take you a couple of seconds. And your job is going to be focused on something that is creative and interesting and you love doing it, not on writing stupid documentation whatsoever. Yeah, and that's amazing. And I think we all have to think about that, not be scared or something how can I use ChatGPT to make my life easier? So yeah.
But to expand a little bit on what you said, it's not going to replace you. Is that true? Now when we think about it, for years now, the most sought after people were data scientists, machine learning engineers, data engineers. Will that change? Whoever wants to say.
Yeah, it will. So yeah, it will not replace us, it will commoditize us. So we will be cheaper in a way. So yes, the change is very fast, and was inevitable. That the question of how new demand rises, will it rise fast enough, or there will be too many programs? Because with a Copilot or any other software, let's say, enhance, or I don't know, and any tool that helps you pass software faster will make you more efficient. And there are around 100 million developers in the world. That's what I heard.
Demand is still high.
Yeah, I agree. But is it for 500 million or is it for a billion? Because if we now all become 3 times more efficient, which is maybe unrealistic, then that's the question. So the market will, at the end, fluctuate up and down. At the end, there will be new I would say, stability on the market. You can tell that for the developers, you can tell that for copywriters, for everyone. So in a way, just the pace of the change will be a problem for people, and we all have to embrace it. We can't really now stop it and say we won't use it. It's not realistic. Also, we all have to have in mind that something's changed. So what we think now is, in my personal opinion, copyright laws. So I had background working as patents and technology transfer officer on Institute Roger Bošković. So this whole world was obsolete 10 years ago in software. So there is no actual way you can protect yourself with any patent for if you're a coder. And it doesn't have sense. So it's only play for the big guys and they're in between them. It didn't have sense then, now it will have no sense at all. And it will have no sense at all for even the artistic things or even the, I don't know, in my opinion. Did you notice that there is no so much things about new songs and other stuff and how you can co-create? So generative AI in music is developing slower. Why? Because there's a very strong restriction and push. And in my opinion, music is very easy to generate. It's actually not very complex system, much less complex than images. And then it's easier to protect. And then the CEO from Stability, I said, yeah, we had it in the model, but we took it out just not to get sued at the beginning. So, but at the end, so we are the first generation of this change. The second generation will not care because the creation process will not be done by humans. It will be done by humans and their co-pilots, or call them however. So their AI, so it will be iteration between me and AI, me and some other model, and then someone else. At the end, nobody will understand who created what and what's the originality. Because even the concept of originality, it was always, in my opinion, a bit questionable. I understood this from a patent laws, and the idea that you have to do something that's unexpected and then that's it. But yeah, come on, it's so incremental, and one thinks it's unexpected because maybe he doesn't understand, and someone who actually understands, yeah, he sees this, so it's not unexpected. So the whole concepts have to change. If you ask me, I would completely stop any copywriting laws, any patent laws. I will just reward the creators differently. So yes, so what's the idea of copyright laws? To reward the creator for doing something for all of us. So let's change the concept. Let's reward them. It's okay. But let's not investigate what's original and what's not, because nobody cares anymore. What happened with software, we all know it. It's software as a service. So why actually? Because at the end you care about functionality. And I will provide you the service first from some server. You will send me something and my API call, and you'll get some result. And we'll charge you.
It's time.
Yes.
It's less time. That's all
It's
it is.
easier, it's less defendable, and you can't be actually copied. So the whole concept of SaaS actually developed because patents never worked for software. And at least for the last 50 years. So in my opinion, things will change conceptually because now you can't defend it anymore. Even before they were, and now it's completely out of business. Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on this.
I just wonder what Zamp's response will be to that.
Yeah, I disagree slightly. Well, one of the things that people made me do, one of the things that my advisor made me do, is to actually read the original of the Turing thesis and to prove like the half-take problem. And I do all this technical work and so on and so on. And he asked me like, did you find anything like unusual in this paper? Like, nah, just technical people pumping lemons and stuff, and you prove it and like that's whatever. And he was like, but like they're talking about computers. Yeah, sure, computers, yeah, it's about computers. It was written in the 30s. And I was like, okay. They probably didn't have computers at the time, but why this guy is writing about computers in 1930s? Like, is this visionary? He's like, no, you have to like, let's go back, slow down, read it carefully. Like, what he's talking about? He's talking about computer seeing a paper with the squares, and there's only so many squares he can see at the moment, and then he, based on the observation that he makes, he has certain numbers in his head, so he can write some numbers more on it. Okay? Computer was the actual, like, a job description. There were people that were computing, they were looking at the paper had a grid, and there were only so many digits they could see, and then only so many digits they could have in their hands, and there were only so many transitions, and this is why they cannot prove every single thing that is true in the arithmetics. And then I was like, okay, now I get the point. Now I understand why I had to like Google this original thing, not to read a book like all the normal people. So my point was this, like, there used to be a job that was called computer. People in NASA was like doing the equations and calculating things, and based on those equations, we send like people to the moon. And then somebody invented the computer that we know is a computer. And what happened with those guys? They become engineers and whatever the people were becoming. Similar story was with photography. Photography was invented. What's going to happen with painters? They're all going to die. Like, we don't need those people anymore. God knows they make much more money now than they were making at that time. So the human society is very plastic. People they go out on the old rules, find the new rules. This is nothing new. It happens so many times in history. The only difference is the speed. This is becoming so fast that like people usually had their whole life to phase out, and the new generation will just do something new. And we have this problem that this is going so fast and so fast and so fast that you constantly have to do something new. And this is something that we haven't seen in our history before. It's not a question of are those jobs being replaced with new jobs. The real question is, are people flexible enough, is society flexible enough to like re-engineer people? Because now from being the artist that knows everything about Photoshop, and I was just like reading one of the article the other day, guys, like, this Photoshop is so good, the new one. I don't know, do I like it because it saves so much time, or do I hate it because so much of my knowledge is obsolete now? But he will still go to weddings, take pictures, and deliver good results and get paid for it. He will use that time that he has extra to either do more shootings or do less. He will do something, but this will not disappear. I also don't agree that, historically, again, like if you know the history about the patent law and anything, the history started in the US. So why US was the first country in the world that introduced the patent to the intellectual property? And what happened with the US because of that? It actually made investable to do investing in research and science. Because if you put your money and some guy is actually good enough to invent a light bulb, there's a huge payoff. Because the huge guys cannot copy without paying a fee. And if you don't have that kind of a law, what happens is what you have in China. You have big guys, but there's no innovation because they don't care. And the society slows down. So if you really want to have like a good dynamic society, you need to have a system to allow social mobility. You need to allow a smart guy with a smart idea in the right place, in the right time, with a good little bit of luck and a little bit of funding to actually replace the big guys. And this is why we have so much developed IP laws in the West. And this is why the West is progressing historically faster than the East. So we should not really dismantle all those things because there's some social service to be done with these kind of systems. And if you just look at the history, what happens before, it's just happening again. The only difference is speed. We have never seen such a huge speed. Like, there was internet in like late 90s, then mobile phones in like mid 2005 something, then social networks. Now for a long time was nothing. Now there's machine learning. It's really taking off. These changes are huge. And you don't have time to go like in retired in your lifespan because it's going to happen like every 10 years or maybe even faster. And you have to work for like 30. So you cannot really hide anymore. So if you were like computer in the sense of like curing paper, like you had time until those things were like popular enough. Because if you're doing computing in 30s, by the time of 60s, there were only few machines in the world anyway. Nobody cared. But right now, because things are happening so fast, you have to appraise them and you have to like switch what you're doing. But you should not completely switch your profession. You should do whatever you're doing, but you should just take this tool and make yourself better and take this new time to do some competitive advantage because otherwise somebody else will. And this is nothing new in history. It happened so many times before. And this is happening today again. And this is a huge thing. It's not like one of those whatever we could not remember. Shortly.
As always. So after hearing all of this, can I ask the public something? Are you more excited or more terrified of what's coming? Who's more excited?
What will be with Tony Kulic?
He's genius.
Really concerned.
I mean, we built like, this one was like one day thing. So I built a bot, like a model that is generating cycles, it was called Kafana bot. So you give it a title, and it was like a long time ago, like I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I cannot even remember.
2017.
Yeah, well, it was a simple thing to build. Like, what do? You write like simple scraper. There was text.bestama.com. I don't know, have you seen it, but it's good. You just download everything. You don't care what it is. Like, you just put everything in the same file. And the model was trivial. You give it like, I don't know, 150 characters randomly, guess the next one. Iterate over the night with one like shitty GPU, nothing else. In the morning, it was generating things that you could actually like pass as a passable thing to sing in Kafana. It had like, so the human brain has about, I don't know, 80 billion neurons. Fruit fly has about 60,000. This thing had like 1,500. It was retarded, but it worked. So we're like, yes, these things exist. They were not really good enough. Now they're becoming good enough to actually. So there was a Nick Cave was reading one of those poems generated in the style of Nick Cave, and so it's like, this is shallow, but it's interesting. Like, it's my style, no question about it. There's like no depth in it. We still have competitive advantage in depth. The language models are kind of like not very intelligent, in my opinion, but they are good. They can do so much, used properly. So they were more. So we were like, serious. We were thinking like, oh, the AI will replace the I don't know, cab drivers and like truck drivers. We were so wrong. You know why? Not because the job is difficult, because the margin of error is nothing. You cannot put on the road something with 18-wheeler and make a mistake. You can if you're human because you go to jail. But what to do with the machine?
Who owns the machine?
I don't know. Not me, I'm sure. So you can't really do this. But if you can do like mistake by writing an email, oh God, no, sorry, I like do it like 100 times a day. So nobody cares. And you can do those things quickly. There's so many things you can do okayish, because most people are doing okayish and there's no penalty for it. So it's not highly likely that we're gonna see like cars driving down the road, because like there's so much cost of doing mistake, but everything that's like low cost of mistake, I just put a machine on it. Nobody cares. So what's it?
We'll have the Q&A. So after this, are you more excited, or still there are some that are terrified? Who's terrified? Cambridge. Okay, let's have some questions, but I want to give you my.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Nicola. So I have a question about, these all are open systems, and today I tried to call my wife. She is called Mihaela Rešić, and I said, Siri, call my wife, call Mihaela Rešić, and Siri could not call my wife. So what do you think, what will happen with Apple, with these systems? Will they, become much more clever with this, or what the hell is going on with them?
Yeah, I mean, so I was, 2 years ago, I was in India visiting a friend. And he picks me up in a car, and we're sitting in his car, and he has his kids in his back, and the kids like speak broken English, of course. And the music in the car is like YouTube, and they're always constantly saying not Siri, but whatever Google Android is, whatever. Anyway, play me this song, play me that song, yada 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 yada. And they have to repeat like 3-4 times. But there's like no way this guy has a phone in his hand, and they would like actually go there and touch the screen. No, he doesn't want to do it. He wants to say it. It's a new generation. They're not afraid of it. And those machines are getting better and better and better. And they will, like in 2 years, they will not make any mistake. Or they will do less mistakes than I do. It's not really that difficult.
That is true, but they are still making mistakes, and some of those mistakes just cost Google what, $100 billion because
Yes, but the mistake was not.
that you mentioned.
Yeah, but the mistake was not like machine mistake. It was a human mistake of being so stupid not to check those things before you put it on a screen. Like, come on, like you have to have that kind of intelligence. Like, if you're doing like important things, like I don't know, signing a contract, maybe you should read it. If you're doing a presentation that you're trying to say, no, yeah, Microsoft attacks, but we will defend because we have this huge, cool thing, and you make a mistake that everybody can check, it's just like sloppy work. It's just sloppy work. It doesn't have anything to do with machines because the humans will do those same mistakes, but somebody will check them. You don't go to stage without having those slides checked. I'm pretty sure that Bill Gates was not doing that kind of things by himself. Like, there were guys like checking everything, of course.
Well, not everyone's.
Not everyone, obviously.
More questions?
ChatGPT is on GPT 3.5. What we can expect from version 4? Because
It's
it
simple.
is
So it's
still a filler, right?
On today's announcement, Microsoft CEO said that actually what's now behind Bing is much more powerful and trained on much more data than ChatGPT, than GPT 3.5. So we don't know, but it will once, of course. Things will change. And it's not so, we have to be aware it's not only adding more neurons and getting the models bigger, it's now a lot of additional things coming from this reinforcement part, so actually getting human feedback, which now they actually had a wonderful opportunity why they gave us this chance to, for free, millions of people around the world use it, because now they have some thing they can train on, and then they have additional, a lot of human annotators in behind that will say, now looking at this conversation, this was good, this was not good, this was good, this was not good. So in a way, the models will get better through these methods, much more, maybe not that bigger. So in a way, it's multi-models. It's not anymore just one model. So one of the most interesting things that I saw was actually maybe 3 weeks ago, and maybe one of the most potential, where had anyone heard of Wolfram Alpha? What's Wolfram? Yeah? So Stephen Alpha, who is the owner and the CEO and the guy that's in business for the last 50 years of AI. So the Wolfram Alpha was ChatGPT 10 years ago. In a way, it has this promise you will be able to ask him and it will give you a lot of correct answers. But it just didn't work that good. But what they developed, it's a billion word company, so it's a big company. So it developed symbolic language that actually computes. So Wolfram Alpha is, they're owners of Mathematica, if you ever use it on the faculty. So they have the best symbolic language for understanding and actually solving complex tasks, but actually really solving them accurately, not like, so in a way, language models are just really good statistical models, but they lack this understanding and a lot of things they still lack, but this symbolic language maybe can be connected with the large language model as an interface. And that was actually blog written by the owner of Wolfram Alpha. So I expect that's one of the ways how things will develop. You will use, so in a way you will connect it to the knowledge base. So now you don't have a knowledge graph in the large language model. You have a really good data set of all the languages, and it can do wonderful stuff, but it sometimes just makes fantasies. Sometimes it's unstable. So maybe what happened to the Google guys, because you ask it once and then you ask it again, and the other time it gives you the other answer. So it's not completely, you can't be sure you will get the same answer on the completely same question. And I just, yeah, I heard some things. It sometimes depends on how the server is, capacity is over capacity or not. So So it's fun because you actually don't know. So there's a lot of things that are still not really understood even by the developers of this. In general, so we are playing a lot with neural networks. It's not an easy, you're modeling things and you get the model, then you have to test the model, you have some things how to test it, but you're never completely sure what will be the end result. Although our networks are much smaller, so one of the downsides of neural networks is they're in a way black boxes. So then you have to develop tools to actually interpret them better and interpret layer by layer and understand them better. So I just guess these big models, plus there are several of them, and it's complex system. It's not easy to control. So we'll see how things will develop in which ways, and maybe this Wolfram Alpha connection will help. So just one more. So one of the things on which were the models, large language models now trained, was actually the code. So and that's very important. So for instance, Codex is one of the biggest models that was trained only on code. In a way, the GPT-3 was trained, I think even 3, not 3.5 or 3.5 of course. And then why? Because the code has it's much more consistent than the language you can train on from internet. So if you are writing the code, there's things that start, things that end, there is some consistency. You can't really write code that's chaotic. It will not work. So in a way, when you train the model on a code, you're getting the reason behind it. It's not, I wouldn't call it intelligence so far. It's not intelligence. But with this, there was this, I would say, breakthrough on just large language models that only were trained on a human, dogs and Wikipedia. So there are a lot of components, a lot of supervised learning, a lot of human annotation, and actually training models. And in my opinion, it's really fun who is training who, because in education the models will train new humans, and now the humans are training models, and we are all training each other. So this is the future, how I see it.
We'll see how that will pan out. Doug?
Just a comment, besides everything, I'm CTO and I do a lot of code reviews. So, and people tell me the neural networks are like black boxes. Like if you're doing code reviews, the programmers are black boxes. What is in their mind when they write that code? It always puzzles me. So we have a kind of feeling in the industry that whatever people write is well understood and works well. It doesn't. Even I cannot understand their code sometimes. Sometimes I have to rewrite the whole thing just to be sure it does what it's supposed to. You cannot tell from that code. So it's a challenge. There are a few very easy predictions that we can make because we just know what's going to happen from the history. One of the things is the size of the models is exponentially growing. We had the size of semiconductor in industry. The number of transistors is doubling every year and a half. We're going to see what the rate is, but we're going to know it grows. And we know so far that when it grows, it's better. And the sizes of those things, GPT-3, 1 billion parameter, 3.5, 170 billion, 100 times more. Like this, within a year or two. Never mind. So these things are getting huger and huger and huger, and there's going to be a lot of investment in hardware, software, whatever, to make it even bigger and better, because the bigger just works best, for whatever reason. And we still didn't find where is the limit, because they're able to make it 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger. Currently it costs about 4 million to train a model. Next year it's going to be 40 million. And then it's going to be 400 million. And that's going to be 4 billion, because they have money, and they're just going to put more money to build bigger models, because these bigger models will be better. What's going to happen as a consequence is less and less people will train models, because this one is superior. It's going to be really about how to feed this huge model, which is hugely over-engineered, to solve something quickly, because we don't have time. We use Python, we don't use assembler or C code. We just don't have time. We can do it in one, much smaller, much faster, in terms of code size and speed of code, but nobody has time. We have Python, we have to move on. Just build something so we can move. So we know what's going to happen. It happened so many times in software before. So we are really we're going from the field which was a hardware-based kind of a business into a software industry. And now it's going to explode because we have seen the economical forces around it. And we know what's going to happen. It's going to be a fun ride. Sorry, question?
Hi everyone. First I want to say thank you for your expertise and being here and giving your opinions about everything. So I'm Damir. I work in a startup that's currently trying to input as much AI into our workflow as possible, but also something that you said about the history of computer science. Maybe we can switch mics? Thank you. So you study the history of computer science. I studied history of art. And in the period that we now call the Renaissance, came this invention, the camera obscura, which used something called the pinhole effect, which effectively made you, if you darkened the room and had a small hole, you could project an image from the outside onto the wall. So artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo started using this technology to paint. At that time, this was considered cheating.
It still is on the East.
Right.
We
So
can go with history.
and then also at the moment where photography came about, the same thing happened. Artists were saying, you know, this is cheating, painting is going to go extinct. But here's the thing: we call photography because it's drawing with art, drawing with light, and we don't call it camera art. We call it photography. So actually now in the field of AI image generation, there's a term being used called syntography, because what most people believe is that AI uses combinations of images that exist, but it doesn't. What it actually does is it synthesizes raw data into something new every time. So the same way that photography is clicking a button to get some sort of image, prompting an AI to give you an image will give you an effect. But the thing we still need is skill, discernment, patience, editing to get the final product. So the reason why I want to accentuate this is because I believe that even though AI is taking over a lot of jobs, it's about how do we critically assess the things that are being generated from moment to moment. And for that, I think the human in the loop is currently impossible to avoid. And for that reason, I think there's still a lot of stuff we need to fix until ChatGPT takes over. It's not going to take over. I spoke to a lawyer earlier, I don't know if he's here, who said that ChatGPT gives great generated responses about verdicts that were made by people who never existed. However, the format is exactly like a verdict that would have been made. So, like, you know, who's going to know that this is a wrong verdict? Only a human at this point. So yeah, that's just a comment I had. Do you guys think there is a way for this to be like erased and we will have full-on AI tools which can like do a task from the beginning to the end? This is for all of you. So a task that can be done fully without us actually needing to be in the loop. Or is that impossible?
Okay, short answer from each one of you, because slowly it's time to wrap up.
Yeah, only certain tasks. So there's going to be like less and less things that are like lower level tasks. Because there's one thing like, I don't know, editing a photo, another thing is like having a concept about the series of photo, another one is like having a portfolio of everything that you do in the arts example. And what makes an artist is not just like the outcome, is the process, is the depth. So this is what DK was saying, like, it's interesting, I'm impressed with technology, it's shallow, like, there's no depth to it. And when it comes to depth, we're still much, much better. Trust me, I work with those systems all the time, every time. They're very good in doing a lot of things. So, like, building a product, a company, a society, this will not be done by machine. Then people will use machines to build those kind of things. And what is interesting that you need less and less people to build exciting stuff. But this is a history of computing. Like when the Amazon AWS came out, it was like, how do you mean? We can just like start the servers somewhere on the internet with a few clicks, like how is this possible? Now it's like, nobody understood the trouble of like bringing those machines physically in the facility. Nobody remembers those things, and nobody's missing those times. And there are not enough people for any kind of job. There's so much work to be done. So if it can be done cheaper, we're just going to sell it for less unit price, but altogether there will be more. So the economy is better if the people are more efficient. At least this is what the history tells us. We never came into a worse society when the productivity increased. Not really. Didn't happen in history before. I don't know why it would happen now. Maybe it will happen one day. We still don't have that example. And I have to press my button.
Martina, do you agree?
Yeah, sort of. Scriptish. So we talked about music, we talked about the art today. The first time during the chess game, computer won. Everybody thought that will be the end of chess. Everybody. It wasn't. Now the chess is more popular than ever because thanks to AI you can learn new moves, new strategies, and so on. The same goes for almost any occupation you right now have or hobby or something. Same goes for art. You can now learn the new techniques and new strategies in art thanks to AI. So I think this is just like something even more cool, something that's going to be even bigger, that we shouldn't be afraid of it, like Dar said and you said. I was short.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also keep it short. So yeah, things will change. We don't know how. I really think we can't imagine the world 10 years from now that easy, and maybe 50 years from now, I'm sure we just don't know what we are talking about. And the new world where you have, I wouldn't call it intelligence yet, but in 50 years I would expect it to be really an intelligence, new intelligence on our planet. It will be a completely different world. We have to embrace it as a species. Yeah, so it changes the idea. On the other hand, yes, it's us that are giving the value to things. So the artist interprets something, gives his feeling, understands the reality, and then makes the art. Computer can't do it yet. We'll see in some time. So it will be fun. That's my take on it. I really think we should go for it. We should also be careful in a way because there are a lot of pitfalls, but we can't now stop it. We have to go, and when we see things are not developing the right way, we should react. In a way like with the social networks that we now all much better understand the bad sides and the good sides. And now we can adapt as a society. I expect it will be the same with the AI.
I have a feeling we could spend the entire night and days and weeks talking about it. But for now, let's stop here and give you a little bit of time to mingle and chat and get to know each other. Of course, our panelists will still be here, so you can grab them and ask them more questions if you have. But please, a big round of applause for Awesome, and once again, thank you all for coming. Next meetup will be at the beginning of March, and we'll see you soon. Mingle.